Hey, my friends down at Penn, how are you doing? My Penn students, welcome. Hey, listen, my name is Greg, and I'm here to talk to you for a few minutes. I'm sorry I couldn't make it down to actually see you guys in person this year, but I had a battle with kidney stones recently. It was me against the kidney stones. Who's going to win? And I ended up winning, but it took two surgeries in order to win the battle. So, yeah, a little bit of, emergency kidney stone surgeries kept me away from Penn actually coming down and seeing you guys. But I'm here. It's a good compromise. And I'm just here hanging around with the dogs like usual and eating old Easter candy. There you go. What's enjoying it? Anyway, the reason I'm here is because I have osteogenesis imperfecta brittle bones. And you guys know, being medical genetics students, that's a pretty rare thing to have. In fact, I think somebody told me 50,000 people in the entire world have type 3 OI, which I have. Um, so that sounds like 50,000, but it really is. That 50,000 wouldn't even fill Lincoln Financial Field, where our Super Bowl champ Eagles play. You can see how I'm all decked out, all geared out here. And I'm thinking, if they play this video in the future for future Penn students, hopefully the Eagles will be Super Bowl champs 10 years from now, 20 years from now. If not, it's going to annoy the hell out of the Dallas Cowboy fans in class, which is always a good thing. Anyway, so yeah, 50,000 people in the world have type 3 OI. And they tell me that I am about the oldest person out of those 50,000. Yes, yes. I'm 138 years old now. Just kidding. I'm 68, which in the world of OI is pretty ancient, because lifespan or the expiration date of someone with OI type 3 is around 25 years. So here I am, 68. Oh, cranky. I mean, I've outlived my lifespan 40 years, over 40 years. So usually people ask me, why? Greg, why don't you dead? I get a lot of these doctors. I have a whole list of doctors. The older you get, the more doctors you get. And they kind of look at me, they see, and they read about me and how old I am. They look at me like, give me the look side, double take it. Why aren't you dead? You should be dead. Why aren't you dead? Anyway, I'm not. I'm still breathing. Here I am. I don't know. I think there are a lot of reasons, but a couple come my way. Positive attitude. Have to have a positive attitude. And I think a lot of that was instilled in me when I was a kid by my parents. Here I am, a little kid, and breaking bones like almost every week. God, I've broken maybe hundreds of bones in my time. In fact, think about it, since I'm one of the oldest people around with it all, right? Um, chances are, I might have broken more bones than anybody else in the world. That's hard to believe. But it might be true. So it's hard to have a positive attitude when you're breaking bones all the time and you're in plastic casts all the time and you're going down in the ambulance all the time, the hospitals, and then you've got the recuperation and the surgeries, and then you saw the cast off and you start all over again and you come home and you fracture a bone and you go and you start the whole thing over. That's the way my childhood. So I think my parents had a lot to do with it. And my mom, she was like a singer. She used to pray a lot, sing a lot. Music was very important. And my dad, was a guy that just wanted to have a beer at the top sports. His thing was sports. He got me interested in the Phillies and the Eagles. And he would be like, come on, guy, you gotta get better, you gotta hang in there because we have another game to go to. And it was always that you always have to have something to look forward to when you are sick, no matter how old you are. You have to have hope. You have to have something to look forward to. For me, it was sports. Um, so that got me through, from one fraction to the next. That's basically the way you have to take it. When you cancel with future patients, whatever it is, whatever kind of genetic condition, whether it be OI or something else, you literally have to take it day by day. You just have to take it one fracture at a time in that case. You can't think way ahead of time because they were telling, the doctors were telling my parents that I was going to live very good. God, if I lived past 16, when your body kind of matures and stronger, I'd have a pretty good chance of having. But now nobody ever told me that. Yeah. So I was like dying, talking about dying, it was never put off to me. So I just never, it just, to me, it was like a normal thing, breaking a bone every week or every month or whatever. And I knew it wasn't normal because the kids around me weren't breaking bones, but they were out playing baseball or whatever the kids do. And but I didn't think that much of it. I thought this is kind of like my life, it's the way it's supposed to be. So positive attitude definitely helps, and a lot of hope definitely helps. And you know, you have a lot of support that helps. And you have a lot of encouragement coming back at you from your family, from your friends, people sending cards and letters and gifts, letting you know they're thinking about you. That's very important because when you're a kid like I was and you're sick, you're confined a lot. You're confined because you can't go out with the kids with risk. You're at risk for breaking your bone. I mean, I broke bones when I was a kid, sneezing, coughing, turning over in my sleep. One time I broke a bone by tossing a bean back. It's true. And so you're confined a lot, from one fraction to the next. You may have the double cast with things. And when you laid up in bed, you can't go very far. So loneliness is a tough thing to do. No matter how much your family is there, no matter how much your friends stop by to say hello, uh, summertime, kids are out at school, your friends are out swimming, playing baseball, whatever it is, summer, right? And you're there stuck in there. So confinement is a big thing. And no matter what the complications, you're probably going to encounter that a lot in your career. Kids being confined, kids being lonely. So what else? It just had to try to do the best you can to be like a normal kid. When I was a kid going to school, I went to school with a lot of other people with disabilities. Now, back in those days, in the dark days, the dark ages, the old days, in the 60s, they didn't put kids together. Kids who had disabilities, kids who didn't have disabilities. If you had a disability, you had to go to a special school for kids with disabilities that, they used to call school for crippled children. Now, a lot of these terms, we don't use them. They're out of date or appropriate. But back in the day, when I was a kid, they didn't think twice about using terms like crippled, handicapped. That was just second nature. Um, so I used to go to a school where all ramps, which was kind of cool, all ramps, kids with all kinds of disabilities together. And in a way, it was kind of cool because everything was on one level. You didn't have to worry about steps. And you kind of wish that the rest of the world was like that. Because when you left school, you faced a world full of steps, curves. That's a big part of my world. Inaccessibility, not accessible. So when I wrote my memoir a couple of years ago and just finishing up another book, a lot of it has to do with here I was, you know, uh, couldn't get off my own block because I couldn't get out of bed to get a drink of water because I had broken bones all the time. But even if I couldn't go anywhere because I had steps to get to the road. There were no ramps or cut curves. You literally was in your own house. Uh, I always say, thank God, if I was down there raping the same things, I'm so involved big hands. Thank you. Thank you for wanting to help. Thank you for wanting to be that original counselors. Plus, we didn't have you guys. Think about that. Your profession that you've studied, that you're going to be going like 7 hours of internships and eventually jobs. It wasn't around when I was growing. There was no internet. There was no way you could hook up with other kids with OI or even find people, support groups. My mom and my dad, I'm sure they didn't support a lot. Where they are with a supposedly healthy little boy, 2 years old, and all of a sudden being told that he has a life-threatening condition. I'm sure they could have used a lot of people to talk to, just to try to get through it. And since it was so rare, you really didn't know what to expect the doctors to do to do things. They were sort of winging it too, like the rest of us, let's see what happens, kind of thing. But so to have somebody like you, a genetic medical counselor to talk to uh, for support, to help us get through the times when you're frustrated, angry with your physician because of all the pain. And the thing about OI is you feel it's never going to end, you know? I mean, if you have like something in your life, kidney stones, like I just know, all right, you get rid of the kidney stones, you blast them, and they're gone. They're gone. All right, that's the end of it. But the thing with OI is it just keeps going on and on. And that's the way my OI went from about the age of 2, when I first got out, I had Brittle Bones, to about the age of 16, 18, when they were right. I started fracturing with less and less than I did before. I'd always had Brittle Bones, and I still did, but wasn't as frequent, the fractures. But the thing is, you don't know that. You just thinking, when is this all going to end? You know, when am I going to be in pain? When is my life going to be stable? All this chaos of fracturing your bone and having to go to the hospital to get a cast and start over again. So that was the big thing, is when is it all going to end? And so talking to somebody like you, like a counselor, would help. And nowadays, the internet, you go and find different organizations, that are focused, devoted to Brittle Bones. But it wasn't that way back then. So thank God you guys are around me for the future. I gotta tell you, I saw this kid on TV like that. It was Koa, and he was going to the Moores Hospital, I believe, in Philly, because apparently, I'm taking this by the way on April the 23rd, 2025. I don't know when you're watching this. It could be like 10 years from now, it could be 20 years. But apparently, the Moores is focusing on taking special interest in osteogenesis imperfecta. So one of the TV stations did a little report on this because to the rest of the world, OI is sort of this mysterious condition. Nobody knows about it. And they were talking about Koa just being born and what may lie ahead for him and symptoms. And I saw that report. I was thinking, I kind of know what that kid might be going through, you know? I hope not, because I hope that Koa gets to be my age. And I sure hope he does. Hopefully, osteogenesis imperfecta won't be around anymore. Maybe they'll find a cure for it. At the very least, and in fact, I know there's new treatments, there's new surgeries, and there are things you guys probably do better than I do in order to cope with the disease, you know. But hopefully things will be a little bit better for a kid like Koa than they were for me when I was young. I thought, it's kind of cool. Koa is going to be growing on. And I'm at the end of the spectrum. I'm like if I was playing golf, I'd be like in the last few holes, the bottom of the seventh inning of my game of life, the fourth quarter of the football. And but college to start that. So it's one of the main reasons why I wrote my books, why I'm writing a book called Stronger Than Bone, that hopefully you guys will want to look up what I've got. And it's for kids like Koa. It's for everybody. It's about facing challenges in life and how to cope with those challenges. It's really though for a kid like Koa who can look up my book, read my story, and hopefully find some hope in it. Because what's really rare about this though is not only my condition, Koa's condition, but having someone give their first person account. Because when I started thinking about writing a story, I couldn't find very many people who had done so. Well, I was thinking, well, maybe because they aren't around and know their story. Maybe they're not healthy enough to write it. But you find all kind of medical journals out there talking about OI, but you don't find very many first person accounts. So, but then I would leave them. And that way, kids like Koa's family can check it out and find out, hey, just because you got Brittle Bones doesn't mean that you're sentenced to a life in bed all the time or fractured all the time. You could have a pretty good life, a pretty healthy life too, a long life, like it did. You could have longevity. I have been lucky to have. You could also have quality of life. It's the one thing I think you guys are going to be facing, talking about a lot down quality of life. Because what good is living to 68 like me if your life sucks, right? So you have to have quality of life. And that's where you guys come in for your clients. Yeah, make sure that they have all the equipment that they need, that they have all the psychological care, not only physical care, but emotional care that they need to have a quality life. I think as time goes on, I think we're going to find more and more kids who are living longer, or like I did. We got to make sure that their life is quality. That's the key. That is the key. So, and that's where you guys come in as medical genetic counselors. Let me see. Yeah, there's a new treatment even for me now. Like I take this reclassed maybe once a year. It's like that IV thing. Try to read it. It's zoledronic acid. I don't know. It's some new stuff they're coming to me, hopefully to make your bones stronger in time. And I'm like, well, you know what? I don't mind doing it. If it's going to help somebody down the road after we're gone, why not? Right? And I do notice that I'm not sustaining as many fractures as I used to. Now, could it be from the meds? Or could it be just my own situation? We don't know. I think there's got to be more research done. But it looks pretty positive. Then the first time I had this reclass done, this treatment, infusion, I felt really crappy. I felt what did that? My whole body was sore. But the more I had it done, and I think I've had it done maybe 3 or 4 times now, the better I felt. So, like I said, new treatment there hopefully is going to help the next generation. Just to tell you a little bit about what happened to me. So I had the brittle bones when I was a kid, type 3. But, I was never the one to sit around and do nothing. Now, a lot of society tells you have to sit around and do nothing. That's what we expect you to do. You're in a wheelchair, you do nothing. I didn't feel that. And so, make a long story short, long video short, I went to school, got my degree in social work at Westchester University, and became a social worker. And I worked for 30 years, mostly in nursing homes. That was my niche. I worked in hospitals, but that was my niche, working in nursing homes. It seemed to get along pretty well with older people. So that's what I did. And I'm retired. I've been retired now. And now I'm writing. Now I've written, well, I've had 15 up to this point, depending on when you're watching this, 15 short stories that have been published. And they're sort of like Twilight Zone stuff, I thought that would be fun, because I've written a lot about disability, about disability issues. I've written for the local newspaper, and I did my memoir, and I've been working on Stronger Than Both. And so I thought I wanted to do something different, something a little fun. So I wrote like these 31 short stories, and people seem to like it. So that's kept me busy. And I think it's something writing that will keep going on and on until I'm no longer here. I think that's one thing you have to help your kids with, the client. Just because maybe they can't walk, and just because they're breaking news doesn't mean they need to just sit there and do nothing. Help them find what they love to do. Maybe it's writing, maybe it's music, maybe it is sports, watching sports. Everybody's got something. So help them find, give them hope, encouragement that, hey, yeah, you know what? You're the one. You're the next guy who could write a book about what it's like to have Brittle Bones. And, so, yeah, I wrote a lot about my childhood, what it was like to have OI, especially in a world that wasn't very accessible to a person with a disability. But I write now about what it's like to be an old guy, 68, and have OI, because not too many people have crossed this barrier, and sort of an uncharted territory here. Where I'm pushing 70. Not many people have who've had my type of Brittle Bones. So I thought it important to write everything down and let you know, and let people with OI and families what it's like, what to expect. So I think it's kind of cool. I gotta say thank you again to my doctors at Penn, especially Dr. Kalish, Allie, my friend down at Penn, who happens to be my genetic counselor. Thank you to Allie, who set this on. And before I go, because I know I was told that I gotta keep, because I can talk about that. That's one thing. My bones might be brittle, but my mouth keeps going. But try to keep it between 20 and 30 minutes, which I have, which I think I've done a pretty good job at. I hope nobody has fallen asleep there. Anyway, so I wanted to thank you guys for doing what you're doing, and always have confidence. When I start out in social work, I didn't have very much confidence in myself. And eventually I learned to have confidence in myself, to do what I'm doing now, speaking. I have a podcast that I do every day, along with the writing, to keep busy, but also to reach out into the world. And that's something I think you're going to find. Maybe you could help with your kids, with your clients. They don't have to be confined in this day and age to a certain room or bed. When I was growing up, I had CB radio, which you guys probably heard. It's kind of out of date now. CB radio helped me to find friends, to make friends, and to reach out into the world. And now with the Zoom, and all kinds of possibilities to communicate with other people, there's no reason why your kids need to be used. Let them reach out and find other people, whether that is someone who also has Brittle Bones or not, because your kid, your client, could have another client all the way across the world, across the country, and give each other hope, give each other reasons to smile, encourage each other. That, hey, once a week we're going to talk, right? Keep the lines of communication open. That's really important, because it's going to help everybody. So I've been saying to you guys, have confidence in yourself. You've got all the tools, and certainly you have the compassion. You wouldn't be here again. You have the compassion and to do what you do. And so don't be afraid to use that compassion. Don't be afraid to have confidence in yourself. And think of how many people you're going to help down the road. Think of the difference you make in people's lives. And whether you're a counselor or not, whether you have OI or not, that's one of the key things in life, making a difference in someone else's life. That's important. So, what else? I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions or anything, drop me an email. My email is GAP, GOP, Smith, SMLTH, 1, GAPSmith1 at Verizon.net. Drop me a line. Let me know when you watch this video, if you enjoyed it or not, if you learned anything or not, or if you have any questions. My name is Greg, G, and it was a pleasure talking to you guys up there. And I hope by next year, I won't have kidney stones to battle. I can come down again like I have before. down to Penn, down to the campus, and actually see all you guys and said, look. So, okay, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you next time. Okay? You guys take care. And thanks for doing what you did. Take care. Bye.